Hi, welcome to this video on how to pass E2 exam managing performance. My name is Iryna McDonald. This video has been created to set you up for the paper to make sure you're in the best position to pass the exam. So what will we consider in this video? We're going to start by thinking about main exam topics so you have a clear understanding of the syllabus. We'll also consider key challenges, the things that make E2 exam a bit trickier, as well as the links to other CIMA papers, particularly at the management level, so you start to see the big picture of where the qualification is taking you and how E2 puts you in the right position to progress. Finally, we want to make sure you achieve that exam success, so we'll finish with some tips that will help you to clinch that pass mark. Let's start with the main exam topics. The first topic is business models and value creation. And even if some of you have done previous business studies before, in my experience, very few would have encountered this topic of business models. I personally like it very much because it draws our attention to the fact that organizations have to operate together as part of the business ecosystems. And as a result of those interdependencies, if we collaborate and work together, we're going to be able to achieve more and going to be more successful. The second topic of managing people performance is likely to be familiar to you from your practical experience because it touches on things like leadership, such as human resource policies. Finally, with management of projects, we all know that our workplaces are full of projects every time we implement a new IT system, set up a new branch, or do something for the first time. That means we're running a project and we need to get that right. So let's see what's tricky about E2 exam. In general, I would say it is a lovely paper. It is clearly as good as it gets at the management level exam. So yeah, I would suggest, if you have this option, maybe to start your management level with E2 to set the foundation, and then you can build on that foundation by attempting P2 that will tell you about management of performance of the organization, and F2 that will consider the financial issues. But nevertheless, even if the exam is lovely, sometimes there are tricky bits we need to be mindful of. As I've already mentioned, the topic of ecosystem tends to be not familiar for the students who have done previous studies. And there is also a lot of theories when it comes to management of performance. But do not fear, with the help from your tutor, with mind mapping techniques, we're going to make sure that you will remember everything you need to know for this exam. Final bit is dealing with numbers, because in a discursive narrative paper like E2, students often struggle with fairly straightforward calculations because it's sometimes different from the rest of the syllabus. So I have to reassure you, the calculations themselves are fairly easy, but it's just that mentality that you need to build within yourself. Though E2 is a discursive paper, there will be some small element of numbers that still will need to be incorporated, particularly when it comes to project management topic. Moving on to links to other papers. As I've already highlighted to you, E2 is linked very strongly to what happens at the rest of the management level. For example, you'll be talking about risk management at E2, and it will be further developed in P2. Clearly, the management case study needs E2 mindset because management case study is looking at the organization as a whole in its entirety, and that's what E2 is introducing you to. What are the issues that might affect our organization? For those of you that are progressing from the operational level, your knowledge of E1 will come very, very handy. So if you remember at E1, you were looking at topics like managing human resources, analyzing macro environment or different technologies. You will see them again at E2. It's always nice to have things that you're comfortable with, things that are familiar. So, what about the tips that will help us to secure a pass in the exam? Firstly, we need to read the answer options carefully. This exam is not time pressured. You've got enough time to look at all the questions, read all the requirements. So do not jump to conclusions. In a wordy, discursive paper like E2, examiner sometimes uses unusual terms and expressions to lead you astray. So by staying focused, by paying attention in every single question, you're going to be able to get on that path of success. We also need to think about pacing your studies. Some of you might have been exempt from previous papers, so E2 might be your beginning of CIMA qualification, and therefore you need support from your employer, from your family. You need to think about scheduling your studies in a way that helps you to reconcile your work, your personal, and your study commitments. Thank you very much for listening to this presentation, and I wish you lots of luck in your E2 exam.